Welcome to my channel. Today we will Daniel's training in Babylon. Daniel Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Daniel the fiery furnace.
It was a time of great uncertainty in Babylon. The kingdom thrived, yet beneath the surface, tensions brewed as diverse cultures and beliefs clashed within the empire. Amidst it all, a young Hebrew named Daniel stood out, not for his strength or wealth, but for his unwavering faith and wisdom. Daniel was one of the captives taken from Jerusalem by King Nebuchadnezzar. Despite being a prisoner in a foreign land, Daniel carried within him the deep knowledge of God's ways, taught to him from a young age. His life was governed by obedience to God's law, even when it set him apart. The king decreed that the brightest captives be brought to the royal palace to be trained in the language and literature of the Babylonians. Daniel, along with 3 of his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, was chosen. They were to be prepared for service to the king, fed from the royal table, but Daniel resolved in his heart not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. He knew the meals did not align with the dietary laws God had commanded his people to follow. Risking punishment, Daniel asked the chief official for permission to eat only vegetables and drink water. Though hesitant at first, the official agreed to a 10-day trial. When the trial ended, Daniel and his friends appeared healthier and more robust than any of the others who had eaten the king's food. God honored their faithfulness, granting them knowledge, understanding, and wisdom far beyond their peers. Daniel, in particular, was given the ability to interpret dreams, a gift that would soon set him apart. Word of Daniel's extraordinary wisdom spread throughout the palace, but his journey had only begun. He would face tests that would challenge his faith, loyalty, and courage. Yet Daniel remained steadfast, knowing that the God of Israel was with him, even in the heart of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar. One day, the king had a troubling dream that none of his wise men could interpret. Desperate, Nebuchadnezzar ordered that all the wise men be executed if they could not explain the dream and its meaning. Daniel, hearing of the decree, asked the king for time to reveal the mystery. He, along with his friends, sought God in prayer, asking for mercy and understanding. That night, God revealed the dream and its interpretation to Daniel in a vision. Daniel immediately praised God for his mercy and wisdom, declaring, "Praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his. He changes times and seasons. He deposes kings and raises up others. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning." The next day, Daniel went before the king and, by God's grace, told Nebuchadnezzar the dream he had seen. A great statue made of various metals, gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay. Each section represented a different kingdom, with the golden head symbolizing Babylon. Daniel then explained that the dream pointed to the rise and fall of empires, and that a kingdom not made by human hands, God's eternal kingdom, would one day destroy all the earthly kingdoms and stand forever. The king was astonished, recognizing that only a divine power could reveal such mysteries. He honored Daniel, promoting him to a high position and placing him in charge of all the wise men of Babylon. In turn, Daniel requested that his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah be elevated as well, and the king agreed. But despite Daniel's rise in power, the challenges were far from over. Nebuchadnezzar's pride and arrogance soon led him to erect a massive golden statue of himself and command that everyone in the kingdom bow down and worship it. Anyone who refused would face execution by being thrown into a blazing furnace. Daniel's 3 friends, unwilling to compromise their faith in God, refused to worship the image. When their disobedience was reported to the king, they were summoned and given one last chance to bow. Yet, they remained firm in their stance, declaring, "If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Enraged, Nebuchadnezzar ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded that the 3 men be thrown in. The flames were so intense that they consumed the soldiers who threw them into the furnace. Yet, to the king's astonishment, the 3 men were not harmed. Instead, they were seen walking freely in the fire, accompanied by a 4th figure, like a son of the gods. Nebuchadnezzar called them out of the fire, and when they emerged unharmed, without even the smell of smoke on them, he praised their God, declaring, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants." They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Once again, God had demonstrated his power and faithfulness to his servants. Daniel's friends were promoted, and Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged the greatness of the God of Israel. But still, pride remained in the king's heart. Nebuchadnezzar the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders! His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed, and the visions of my head troubled me. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them. But they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed of a tree symbolizing his power. A messenger decreed it be cut down, representing his fall into a beast-like state until he acknowledged God's sovereignty. After 7 years, his sanity and kingdom were restored. Daniel explained the tree symbolized his greatness. Despite warnings, Nebuchadnezzar boasted. After 7 years, he acknowledged God's rule, and his sanity and kingdom returned.